fans, and welcome back to another episode of Davey Mac's Tales from the Satellite. I'm your host, Bobby Tamburo, and joining me on the couch, not as always, is the star of our show, the legend, the interviewer himself, Deep Throat, Davey Mac McDonald.
Number one Ichiban, hello, Happy New Year, Happy 2025. So much is going on. Oh yeah, I was looking at the microphone, not the camera.
The same thing the whole time.
We are here together for some reason. Either way, I don't care really if we do it on the old restream, online, or in person. What was the thought process behind doing it on person? Because we're going to watch the Notre Dame football game.
We've got the Penn State football game coming up in a little bit here.
Robert, of course, went to Penn State, where he's and did you actually graduate from Penn State?
I did graduate.
So you are an official Nittany Lion alum.
I am one of the 1 in 3 they always sell you on. That 1 in 3 working professionals is a Nittany Lion graduate.
So big game tonight because he's a Penn State alum. Meanwhile, I've got red hair, so I have to root for Notre Dame. Because if you're Irish, see, that's the best thing about Notre Dame. None of us went to the fucking school.
It's so funny.
I was like, only about 4 years ago did I even learn that Notre Dame's in the state of Indiana. I didn't even know where the fuck it was. I thought it was maybe near Dublin or some shit. But since we were a little kid, my Mount Rushmore sports teams forever: Yankees, New York Football Giants, Knicks, and Notre Dame. We expanded to the top 5 for the New Jersey Devils hockey team, but I'm not going to lie. I'm a baseball, basketball, and football guy, so that's where the Mount Rushmore is: the Irish, Yankees, Knicks, and Giants. But tonight, a huge game. The college football playoff semifinals. Notre Dame versus Penn State. Predictions? Predictions? You're on the button. Let's go.
I'm the king of the reverse jinx, so I think it's going to be 33-3. Notre Dame's going to blow them out of the water.
Wait, so you're predicting Notre Dame even though you went to Penn State?
Oh, it's the reverse
because
jinx.
You're okay.
Also,
I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take the same. I'm gonna take the same score. Notre Dame 33, Penn State 3. So you have it's 2-0 with the Notre Dame shall win today's game against the Penn State Nittany Lions.
All kidding aside, James Franklin tends to not show up for the big games as a coach. He's not good at managing the clock. He's not good at creative play calling when he needs to. And then he do some ridiculous triple reverse when you just need to run the ball up the middle. Like, if he can actually...
I can't trust him.
A decent game, I could say more confidently in Penn State, but, I'm really nervous. I also don't think they want to see Penn State, Ohio State in the finals, so I think that may help Notre Dame.
That would be a little annoying. I also still haven't gotten past Penn State with that Joe Paterno, Jerry Sandusky scandal.
Really?
I mean,
Irish Catholic college. You want to go down that
path? Yes, I do. There was was there a Notre Dame sex abuse scandal? No. Was there a Penn State scandal? Yes. Has there been a Catholic Church scandal or two? The answer is yes, but it's got nothing to do with Notre Dame.
The Notre Dame, maybe. In Paris.
Listen, so I am very, very excited for tonight. It should be a spectacular day, spectacular game. And yes, if Penn State wins, I'm just going to simply take one of these nice microphone cords and strangle you to death with it. Like you're fucking... I envision either a strangulation while you're sitting on the couch from behind, or maybe I might even... Yeah, or get something sharp and stick it in there, sort of like Joe Pesci with how he killed Maury Zwigs in Goodfellas.
Okay.
You'd be playing the part of Maury. There's some similar attributes. I'll be playing the part of Joe Pesci.
That's crazy because I get Pesci a lot too.
You get Pesci, you got the beard like Maury did. Maury Zwigs.
I'm just saying.
Pesci,
I will say it is funny. The one question I asked you before we agreed to do this today was, is it going to be okay to watch the game with you? And you're like, yes. Now, if Penn State pulls this off, I'm getting murdered.
Yeah, I mean, especially if Penn State, especially if the game becomes, say, God forbid, the Nittany Lions make it a little bit of a blowout, then I suggest you packing your things
at halftime,
going back to your house. And then I think that's the game. But listen, this is Davey Max Tales from the Satellite. And there is some big news in satellite radio. And I thought we'd talk about it a little bit, a little quickly. Well, yeah, Daddy. What is today's date? So we're recording this on Thursday, January 9th, 2025. And I want everyone who is watching this many, many months from now on YouTube to know that if you want to get this show
first, when
it's fresh, when it just comes out, okay, we record it, takes a day or two, a couple days to edit this thing, and then boom, it's patreon.com/EastsideDave. Patreon.com/EastsideDave. That's how you get the show first and foremost, okay? Early access to everything, including this, and the early access to this is well over a month before we release it for the rest of the bums on YouTube.
If you're listening on YouTube right now, it's probably old news that I've been murdered. They were able to track down Inside Dave for killing me. They tried to give a win-1 for the Bobby speech to Penn State, but they were just fuck that dude, and then they lost
the fucking YouTube audience. It's January 9th. They haven't even gotten the Christmas episode yet. I did that intentionally. Just to tell you people on YouTube, you really should be signing up. It's $2.50 a month, for crying out loud. Anyway, the big news of the satellite radio that broke this week is that Jim Norton left the Jim and Sam show, has left SiriusXM satellite radio, or is this some sort of negotiation ploy? Well, I mean, I can't imagine that someone would do, you have a morning show where they obviously don't, supervise you or even quality check you. You don't have to worry about ratings like us radio folk. I can't imagine why you would leave that, but let's I mean, I left SiriusXM. Yes, I did. Or at least I left the Ron and Fez show, but it was also because I was making $37,000 a year and asked for a raise, and they came back with $39,000. And that was like, okay, so you want me to fucking starve, you goddamn cheap pricks. Fuck off. But I mean, Norton, I'm assuming, is getting paid more than $37,000 a year. So I don't understand what's happening. Is this the end of Jim and Sam? What do you know about this situation, Robert?
I believe it is the end of Jim and Sam. I was just laughing. Both numbers you threw out were double what I've ever made to be in radio. So I'll take that. But
is this for real, or is this Jim Norton doing the Jackie Martling thing where he would boycott every 5 years, or he'd strike every 5 years, would be away for a week? So, and then, we found, we're gonna fucking come to terms with something.
And I get why you say that. It's a radio thing for years, where it's like, let's let the people write in and contact. But
Opie and Anthony, Howard Stern, they all take the same page. It's every 4 or 5 years. I'm the unhappiest person of all time. I have to move on. And then SiriusXM overpays them, and they're like, actually, you know what? I'm going to stick around for another 5 years. And it's the fucking same shit all the time.
I was so confused. Now everything's so much better overnight. But I think if you listen to when Anthony left.
Well, he got fired.
Yeah. It kind of came out Opie was the one who was doing the last-minute signings and the boycotting.
Of course it was.
Everybody else just kind of wanted a deal on the table.
Do it.
Jim's been saying it for close to at least a year, if not longer, that like, hey, just get me the same deal. And basically they wanted to slash what he was making in half. And I think he knows Sirius isn't negotiating.
Is that what he has said?
That's at least the rumors that have been out there. I think close to what he said.
I wonder what the salary he's making. And then I wonder what half of that is. Because let me tell you, SiriusXM, if you want back in the Dave business, you got me, baby. I'll take that half a salary. And I put my fucking money where my mouth is. I texted primetime Sam Roberts. I said to him, I don't know if this whole shit with Jimmy Norton is a work or a shoot or it's a negotiation ploy. Just know that if you want the fucking MVP of MVPs, let's be honest. Can we all agree that since Davey Mack fucking left SiriusXM on 2014, it's just gone down. The Opie and Anthony show imploded. And we love Ron and Fez, and we're going to be discussing Ron and Fez, but there's no more Ron and Fez. Then you get the Jim and Sam. Then Opie by himself imploded. Yeah. Now it's Jim and Sam, and that fucking thing's imploded. Everyone, everyone wants a radio show until you have to do it every day.
Yeah.
4 days a week or 5 days a week. And then people instantly not me. I ain't no ingrate. I just wanted to get paid like a fucking human being who contributed to every goddamn show on the virus and contributed glowingly. O&A, Ron and Fez, Davey Mack Sports Program, Special Delivery. Shit, I was on Weird Science episodes. I was the virus. Weird Medicine. What the fuck is Weird Science? Is that the movie with Kelly LeBrock?
Yeah, you weren't in that one.
I was not in that. Although when I was younger, I did have a resemblance to Anthony Michael Hall. A big resemblance. Nevertheless, the gauntlet has been thrown. This ain't no bullshit. I texted Primetime Sam Roberts. I have. Oh, and by the way, just in case, I let it know to Chris Stanley, hey, you want some help for the Bennington show? Hire me. Listen, if SiriusXM is going to hold on to this, you insulted Opie 11 years ago via email, so we're not allowing you in the building. Give me a fucking break. For real. At some point, let's all man the fuck up and grow the fuck up. Opie's life was never in danger because I emailed him that he's a piece of shit. But he took it like a bitch to SiriusXM security to get me banned from the building. We're 11 years on from that time period, okay? 11 fucking years, and it was an email. Let's get over it. I want back in that building. I will fucking instantly improve any single show that I get put on, period. And even so, if it's only for a fucking day, for one episode, I am throwing the gauntlet down. You want electricity? You want excitement? You want some of the good old-fashioned SiriusXM shit where there was a little juice, where there's a little energy, where there's a little people getting fired up, where people care about the audience, and will do whatever the fuck it takes to entertain the people. You know my number. Call me up. The gauntlet's been thrown down, SiriusXM. Boom. And that goes to Bennington, and that definitely grows to you, Primetime Sam Roberts. I said my piece, Bobby.
I do have a quick question, because it felt like the whole time you were like, I can help you guys, and then at the end you were like, that goes to you, Bennington, and you're saying you would help them.
I would help them.
Okay, just want to make clear, it wasn't like you could do better. You want to carry them.
Yeah, I'm not cutting that's not a heel promo. That's a babyface promo saying, I am here to help you, to assist you, to give you the passion and the energy you deserve, rather than sleepwalking and going through the motions every day.
Absolutely.
And not talking unless you're talked to. That's no way to be a producer. That's no way to be a show host. It's about bringing the juice. Every fucking show, and I do. That's a fact. There's thousands of hours between my satellite radio career, my, FM radio career, and my podcasting radio career. There's thousands of hours. I've never cracked a mic. There's never been one single moment, one time, where I did a show and didn't give 1,000,000,000%. Doesn't happen. I'm not saying I'm great all the time. I'm saying I give everything I got all the time. That's one thing you can count on. I'm not saying everything is gold, but what I'm saying is the effort, the fucking Charlie Hustle of radio, boom, you're looking at him Eastside Dave McDonald. That's his name. Don't wear it out.
Eastside Dave McDonald, the locker room guy of radio.
So I thought, yes.
Serious, just if you want to need more, everybody Dave mentioned that he was willing to help out is significantly better than I am at radio. So he's basically performing with a weighted vest now and is able to do this good. Imagine if I took it off.
I got a fucking albatross around my neck by the name of Bobby Tamburo.
When you get mad.
I got some concrete galoshes.
Yeah.
By the name of Tamburo, first name Bobby.
My man swimming in the river with concrete shoes named Bobby Tamburo.
But those are real offers. And we'll see if anyone has, I don't know, any nerve, any guts. You know that I'm the fucking man, and that I will instantly, at the very least, help out your show. That is the basic shit that I can provide. Is I will really help your show, no matter what the show is. At best, we'll make whatever show that I'm a part of, we'll make it number one.
Easy.
It's as simple as that. Because that legitimately has been my entire fucking career.
You've never done
Ron
that
and Fez, when I was on Ron and Fez, did you know what Opie told us? That Ron and Fez had bigger numbers than O&A.
Wow.
And I would usually say, like, okay, how would he know that? Except he was friends with Eric Logan. Okay, and I'm sure he called up Eric Logan, the president of XM, and I'm sure he was like, hey, I want to know our numbers. Because on the Ron and Fez show one time, he was like, no wonder more people are listening to you guys, and you guys get bigger numbers than us. When Opie came on the Ron and Fez show one time. So that's one. The Davey Mac Sports program has won awards. iTunes. Best independent sports podcast in the world. iTunes editorial team. Look it up. I mean, it doesn't matter what show it is.
Well, like the morning show you were doing, they weren't number one ever, were they?
They were number one in the mid 2000s or late 2000s, and then they went into a fucking cold streak that they had never experienced before until the Dave Man was there and got him to number one 33 books in a row, 33 ratings books in a row. But then some company from Florida fucking buys every goddamn radio station in America and then lays off 78% of the workforce.
Dummies.
Beyond dummies.
And you're
traitors.
You're really a Swiss Army knife of radio, too. You could do characters. You can do production. You could do pretty much anything, right?
Yes, I don't like doing production that much, but I can do it. My production, I equate to Velvet Underground, early Velvet. It's very lo-fi approach.
Good.
But you're right. I've done it all. There's no one who's done. There's probably no one on Sirius XM satellite radio on those channels who have done more characters than me.
No,
period.
Not.
Still to this date. But that's not all. Talking points, ideas, themes for shows like World's Fastest Wedding on the Ron and Fez show, so on and so forth. Yes, I'm an idea man. I'm creative as all fuck. That's what you get when you get the Dave Man. That's all. That's what you get. You want a motherfucking creative superhero? Then you go get the Dave Man. Okay? But, some people don't like that. Or there's always the guy I used to do the radio down here in Jersey, the FM guy, was super threatened by me. Because, quite frankly, I'm no less than 50,000 times more talented than he is. Carl. The guy goes, hey, 95.9 The Rat, Carl Kraft in the morning. We're going to hear a little JT in the Days coming at you. I'm like, what was all of that? But I'm like, Carl, where it's a two-man show, you didn't let me get a word in edgewise. Sorry, man, I just wanted to send the song out. Okay, what's GT and the D's? George Thorogood and the Destroyers? I'm like, there isn't one George Thorogood fan, which I am, by the way, and who has seen him at the PNC Arts Center in Hometown, New Jersey. There isn't one George Thorogood fan who calls him GT and the D's. The thing about a guy like Carl is that they learned their radio style in 1995 and has never changed. He's never evolved in any way, shape, or form. So he sounds like one of the fucking fake-ass radio guys on The Simpsons. Like when The Simpsons parodies radio guys, it's someone who loves the sound of their own voice. And he does two things. He not only loves the sound of his own voice, but he waits to talk rather than listens to his co-host. So there were times where I would throw in a quick little fucking line just to see if he was listening. I'd be like, I killed someone yesterday. And he would still just go right into whatever the fuck. Anyway, we got, Alice in Chains coming up. Like, did not hear me say I just killed someone yesterday? Usually when someone says that, like if you're actually listening and on the planet Earth, you would take 5 seconds and be like, wait, what happened? He never asked a follow-up question in 10 years that I was with him. So, because he's like one of these guys, it's beyond hack. He's beyond hack radio. Primetime Sam Roberts, if you ever want to do, what was that thing they used to do where they play shitty radio?
What's that? Or Jocktober.
Sam, if you want to do Jocktober, look up Carl Kraft. It's like a guy who grew up listening to Tom Likas or Greaseman. It's that fake phony delivery that always douches me out.
That New Jersey coast kind of.
It's not even. He's from Long Island. That's the other thing about Carl. He's a total phony fake liar. He pretends he grew up here at the Jersey Shore. He didn't. He's from Long Island. He's a total fucking fake. In more ways than one. He pretends, he's Dean Martin when...
Well, it's probably, yeah.
He's closer to...
Elton John.
Yeah. Dean Elton John. That's what he's closer. But again, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Let me ask you this.
But at the same time, at one point, do you become a human being? Has that ever happened? The answer with a guy like that is no. Shallow, superficial douchebag who can only do what he was taught in 1989 in Rochester, New York. And it's make sure you overpronounce every last syllable and then really shut it on. Make sure you're as fake as fuck.
Do you feel that's a lack of confidence? Like, you and I can have a conversation. I know if I'm dull, you're going to carry it.
He's got no creativity, and there's a lot of people out there in radio world who actually don't have a ton of creativity. So they just listen to themselves talk, and they love the sound of their own voice. I always say Carl is like he loves the sound of his own voice and the smell of his own farts. He is someone who it's all about him. And that sucks when you do radio because then you can't have a, Seinfeld or Curb Your Enthusiasm type of conversation where you're having fun, you're debating, you're getting into some stupid argument about something that's not really important, but you're bringing passion to it, and that makes it fun for the listener.
Makes it feel like they're at the water cooler having a conversation.
Anytime I would challenge this guy and he would say something and I would push back, rather than now, so now I'm hoping that we do like a Siskel and Ebert, our heads are clashing, and then when I would present the other side, instead of arguing with me, Carl Kraft would go like this. This is a direct quote, time and time again. Well, I don't even really care about this topic. I'm just saying,
that's even worse.
He would say that on the air. And I would tell Carl, this guy is, by the way, 11 or 12 years older than me. Should have known better. I would say to him, dude, if I'm trying to take an opposite side to your point, I'm just looking for a little debate. I'm looking for a little, button of the heads, Mike and the Mad, whatever the fuck. Okay? When you then just diffuse the whole debate by saying, I don't care, you've ruined the bit, but also you've now told the audience not to care about what we're talking about. And we would have argument about who was the better Joker, Jack Nicholson or Heath Ledger. And I would bring so much passion to the Jack Nicholson side of things since he's from the Jersey Shore. But it's not obviously I thought Heath Ledger was fucking great, but I'm choosing this side so that Carl will do this side because he started the fucking thing with Heath Ledger's the best. So I go, well, hold on. What about a Jersey Shore guy in Nicholson? And then as soon as I go into that, he goes, I don't actually really care. I guess they're both good.
I thought he was going to do the Earl, which is just agree with you, which is bad, but
no, he literally would say, I don't care.
That's even worse. It just shuts down any potential.
Shuts down everything.
Oh, God.
The worst. I know a lot of this fucking shit of how to do good shit.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's intricate. It's intrinsically in my DNA.
I don't think that's a word.
All right, wait.
That word to show how great you are.
So we've put it out there enough.
We have.
I want to go into the fucking episode that this is going to be about. But I just want to say, Notre Dame to win, 33-3. Dave's man is ready to rock Sirius XM once again. The fucking Midnight Rider will come riding back in on his horse and save the day. If anyone has the balls.
Absolutely. And if we wanted, we've been trying to get Sam to do one of these episodes. So if they wanted a test run to see if the chemistry is still there, maybe we could get Sam on here. So
if Sam wants to do an episode of Davey Max Tales from the Satellite, he can.
We'd love that.
You're invited. And we'll roll out the red carpet.
Right.
I stocked up on some beer, and I got Robert just what he likes.
Weed?
No.
Hookers?
A chicken salad sub.
I could kiss you right now.
I got a chicken salad sub. I got 2 chicken salad subs, quite frankly, because I thought, you know what? I might want one too.
We're the chicken salad boys.
But, Sam Roberts, I know you don't like that chicken salad shit because you're afraid of mayo. I'll get you chicken fingers, dog. I remember what you love, little bud.
And Pepsi.
I remember what you love, little bud. I got all the chicken fingers you can eat, little bud.
And soda.
And all the soft drinks you can pour down that little fucking gullet of yours, buddy. And by the way, that's an extension to any on-air personality at Sirius XM. If you would like to come over here and hang out, play a little Mario Kart, get a little fucked up, you are invited. My issues with Sirius XM was never about on-air people. It was always about, a few of the vice presidents, the program directors, the general managers. They're way overstocked
that
on suits.
Like a bowling
ball. You should have your talent to suit ratio be like 10-1. And in all honesty, it's like 1-1 there.
Oh, absolutely. It might even be worse, where there are more suits than t-shirts.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. There's not enough work to be done for these people.
Truly amazing how much that one statement from Ron rings true throughout every facet of my life.
Which is?
There's t-shirts and there's suits.
Yeah.
And fuck the suits.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, even guys you think are like, oh, this is a radio guy. If they are in that position, they're going to act like they're in that position and treat.
100%.
But that's not what we're here to talk
No,
about.
what are we here to talk about?
The reason I asked you if you felt like relying on your notes heavily and like, this is what I prepped I have to do, was a lack of confidence. Is today we're actually breaking down, I would argue, one of your first radio interviews where you got to interview the great Fez Whatley.
Oh, fantastic. I always loved interviewing Fez or talking to Fez, trying to find out what Fez's how Fez's brain ticks. And don't forget, I legitimately took journalism classes in college.
Oh, you wouldn't let us forget it during this interview. The reason why I think it's kind of funny though is a lot of the things you brought up that drives you nuts that people do on radio.
Yeah.
Is what you did in this interview. But even still, what's even crazier is going back to the t-shirts thing. You and Fez made good radio out of how bad this interview was.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional.
This was a talked about interview because it was very awkward for myself, for Fez.
Yeah.
We couldn't be more awkward. So if you want to hear like true blue uncomfortability, this is it.
And we will get into it right after we play some of the audio so you guys know what we're talking about.
This Thursday, Unmasked is going to return to Comics Comedy Club for Janine Garofalo. She's a special Unmasked guest. That's this Thursday, 3:30 p.m. You want to be part of the studio audience? Here's the email address, live@xmradio.com, live@xmradio.com. Put in the subject heading, Janine Garofalo.
I've even got a certain question for first question. What kind of name is Janine? Isn't it Jean or Jane? But why Janine?
Yeah, it's kind of spelled like Jane Ain.
Yeah. And then I'll just say, okay, thank you. Thanks for being on Mass. That'll be the end of it. Ram, we got another 59 minutes to go. All right, did I ask you the Janine question? You did.
Can I ask her about, she interviewed Eddie Vedder one time for, I think it was Spin magazine.
That's the best thing, to ask people about other people. That really means you have no interest in them at all. When somebody comes in and did a movie with someone, oh, you're in a movie with Nick Cage. What was that like, knowing Nick Cage?
Yeah.
That's what we did to that fucking kid we had to battle with. My initial question was, so, Nick Cage, is he crazy or what?
Yeah, he was a prick.
It means that you have zero interest in that person. None.
Yeah, I suppose that's like one of they say the journalist questions. Don't say that, and don't ever ask after like a team's won or something. How do they feel?
You know, I had just heard this yesterday. Somebody told me that you act like, because you took one course, everything there is to know about journalism, and how the first paragraph should be most of the information.
Yeah, that's absolutely that's the case. But I didn't take one. I took several courses. I thought I was going to follow my gay brother right now.
Well, you did. Was sticking stuff up your ass.
Just not writing.
No, I used to write for quite a long time. I took a lot of journalism, newspaper courses, writing for TV.
Well, why don't you write us up an article, Scoop? That could be something you do.
All right, I'd love to. I'd love to write up an article, you know. But what happens is
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take a break and we'll come right back.
Okay.
And you will interview somebody from the show.
Okay.
And I want it to be a very interesting interview.
All right, that's cool.
Who of us do you want to interview? You got Fez, you got me, or you want to do Earl, don't you? You don't have the confidence level.
No, I'd like to do Fez, I think.
And this will be a real interview.
Yes. I
don't want it to be silly questions.
No, I'm not.
What are you worried about?
Hold on.
What are you worried about?
Change it?
You can't do.
No.
You can't unmask Fez Watley.
I'm debating going between Ron or Fez.
I'll fucking destroy you in an interview.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Fez. Fez will be my interview.
All right, I'm gonna leave and let you guys do the next hour as an interview.
The whole hour.
That's how you unmask. What do I get? A 5-minute unmasking?
Well, I mean, that's
I
broadcasting.
thought you had journalism class.
I know broadcasting interviews are slightly different, but I'll
In what way? You don't get to go to their house and write that? I hate an interview where the first thing is how the person got there. I caught the plane at Phoenix. Before I knew it, we were up in the air. And I'm like, I thought I was reading about you and Sean Penn. Sean Penn's rolling down the driveway at Sean Penn's house. I noticed that the lawn was so manicured. Shut the fuck up and talk about the goddamn movie with Sean Penn. All right, we're going to break here, Fezzy. And we're going to come back to one-on-one with Dave McDonald. It's the Ron and Fez Show. Yeah, but it's the Ron and Fez Show. We don't normally allow things to get in the way of what our show is, but you've got an interview coming up, Fez, and I'll just try to sit in the back here and try to listen to it. But who's interviewing you tonight?
This is, let's see here, this is a David McDonald.
For The Advocate. He's going to be stopping in, talking to you in just a bit. Now, is this a shoot or a work with you, Fez? Are you going to treat it like it's an interview, or are you going to mock him out?
I think I'd like to mock him out.
All right. Now, I don't know if Dave is listening, but this is something that some people attempt to do in an interview situation. And we can see if he'll engage you.
Okay.
Or whether you'll keep those defenses up.
All right.
But you right away see it as a competitive thing?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Why would that be?
The fact that he feels he can reveal me, he can get my character out of me.
Why is that a negative?
It's not. It just seems like a little game of mental chess here.
But why would it be? You've agreed to do an interview, and we'll see how it goes. All right, here comes Dave McDonald from The Advocate.
Nice to meet you, Dave McDonald.
Look, no, I'm not hanging.
No one's shaking hands with you.
Not shit hands.
You're a Fez Watley?
Yeah. Shit on your hands last week, and we still not shaking them.
Well, no, he's in character.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy. He's Dave now. All right, I'll stay out of the way, you two kids.
Okay.
I'll just be over here doing some work.
Fez Watley. It's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Heard a lot about you.
You seem much older in person.
Let's start
with that haircut.
Let's start from the beginning. Fez Watley. Is that your real name, or
That is my name. That's the name I use, Fez Watley.
That's your real name. Okay.
That is my name.
All right. Childhood. Let's get to you as a child. I'm wondering, you're a professional broadcaster.
Right.
How do you think your childhood affected you in what you do comedically wise? Had any influence at all?
My family owned a radio, so I think that's probably the biggest influence.
But in terms of your upbringing, do you think that it manifests itself in any way of how you perform on the air?
You mean the talking part? Because yes, I did learn to talk very young.
Okay. What inspired you when you were younger? For this article, I'm focusing on what makes you tick and how you came to be Fez Watley radio star. What was the first kind of memory you have of laughter, of enjoying someone else's comedy?
I was probably a rattle that someone shook in front of me, and I probably started laughing then. That's probably the earliest laughing memory I have.
That doesn't seem like a real answer. I mean, I'm talking about a performer.
You asked what my first memory of laughter was.
I was talking.
I'm sure it was, maybe my father holding me or something.
I was really trying to get about entertainers, different sort of, performers, professional performers, whether in radio or stand-up comedy or sitcom stars. Anything that, anything is right here.
So from when I was young?
Yeah.
All right. Captain Kangaroo seemed to be really big into that.
Okay.
Enjoy Captain Kangaroo.
How do you think your comedy tastes have progressed from Captain Kangaroo?
I don't understand the question.
From Captain Kangaroo, okay, you can even almost let's take you through teenagedom. Your teenage
My
years.
My teenagedom?
Your teenage years. What exactly
is this your adult dumb?
What were you into your teenage years? Let's go with that. Anything comedy-wise?
Basically just watching sitcoms. That was about it.
Do you think that any sitcoms or sitcoms character have subconsciously influenced how you perform on the Ron Fez show?
Yeah, probably Hot Lips Houlihan on MASH has probably influenced me the most.
All right.
So, Dave, we started your interview.
So far, so good. I mean,
is it?
I'm hearing a young Bob Woodward right there with these questions.
I'm hearing a Bob Dole, where you talk to yourself in the third person. But no, before we even get into that, have you ever been interviewed before? Like for any of your sporting accomplishments, or were you ever the subject of?
Yes, I've done interviews. Every once in a while, someone will be like, Davey Mack, I have a website or a blog or this or that, a bullshit. I actually someone just requested an interview with me.
Ooh.
Yeah, for real. And it was funny because I agreed because the person shit talked Earl and Pepper. That is like, I wanted to get someone from radio who's ultra creative. Not just who says, not just who repeats the same shit or is a yes man.
You certainly are creative. I think it's a great idea.
I swear to God, this is true.
I was being a yes man.
No, but I swear that's true.
But how about prior to this point? Because this is 2008. This is early on in radio. And the reason I ask is it kind of feels like you've never been interviewed.
Yeah, why would I be interviewed? For what?
I mean, I got interviewed.
I was a waiter for 7 years.
Okay, I got interviewed in 4th grade once. I won a chess tournament, and the headline was...
Oh, all right, hold on. What was the headline?
The headline was Bobby Fischer found in Memphis. And then the guy started interviewing me, and I started saying some things about Israel like Bobby Fischer, and that interview ended real quickly.
I was interviewed as a little child when I was 5 or 6 years old. The local TV channel 34, wanted to get footage of kids on Halloween at school and shit. And the nursery school teacher, this is nursery school, she found the 2 most talkative kids. It was me, little East Side Dave McDonald, and a girl named Stacia Murphy. And I had a little ET outfit on. And once the gigantic cameras, boom mics, and fucking spotlights, they're like, hey, little guy, you're 18. What do you think? And I completely froze.
No.
Yeah, completely froze.
Sounds like you had a little ED, not a little ET.
No, because the guy was just the whole thing was too freaky for me. The guy reminded me of Carl. He was way too fake and disingenuous. And he's like right in your face. And then you look around and there's all this equipment and it's staring at you. So that was one time I had been interviewed, and it did not go well. Mm-hmm.
Mine went okay, just because it was more like a puff piece. The guy, I think, had the title and was like, I'm going to turn this into an article instead of just rolling with it. But it was fine. The only other time I got interviewed was in college. They wanted to put a strip club in the small town I lived. And they asked me what I thought. And I'm like 22 at the time. And you assume I'm going to be like, I'm all for it. But I'm like, a lot of kids ride their bikes and shit around here. I think we should keep it family friendly. And then they found a mom who came out and was like, fuck it, let them strip. It was just the opposite of what you thought.
That's good.
But you did have a fascination with journalism, as we learned from this.
Yes.
Because when it all starts, they're going to do Janine Garoppolo's Unmasked.
Ah!
And you point out that, ask her about the one time she interviewed Eddie Vedder.
Yes, I remember that very well. I forget if it was for Rolling Stone or Spin, but one of the rock magazines, Janine Garofalo, interviewed Eddie. And it was a pretty good interview because she was just like, hey, how come you show up to these awards shows and you're all like miserable? Like, why not just not show up? There were some valid questions there.
And perhaps you should have taken some note on how to ask valid questions. But no.
From the award-winning journalist, Janine Garofalo.
Yeah. But you pointed it out to Ron that he could ask her about that interview, and you didn't get to give the backstory like you gave me. You just said you should ask her about the time she interviewed Eddie Vedder.
Yes.
And Ron points out right away, there's no better way to let somebody know you don't care about the interview with them than the first question asking about their relationship with somebody else. Like, he used the example, I guess you guys got into it with a star, and the question you started with was, so you worked with Nick Cage, how was he? And from that tone, the whole thing was off. But you've also been around Ron a decent amount at this point. I know that later on there was a controversy where the producers of the Ron and Fez show weren't supposed to be at the Unmasked because of Lily falling asleep and Earl failing to do something. That happened.
Yeah, well, it had nothing to do with me. No. I got the job done as one of the fucking producers of Unmasked because it was my responsibility to come up with, speaking of this journalism, that's why it's all, it's related. It's my responsibility to come up with some questions for the audience because they wanted to take questions for the audience at the end. But then sometimes people are either shy or they don't have questions. So I would find people to give a little index card to. And one of those times, it actually started a little miniature viral thing. Oh. Because Ron had Richard Lewis as an unmasked guest. And I love Richard Lewis. And I always thought that Paul Reiser was a bit of a Richard Lewis ripoff. Because people forget, before Mad About You, with Richard, or with, the guy, Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt, won every Emmy in the fucking... Richard Lewis had a goddamn sitcom, and it was very similar.
Very. And
also, Richard Lewis's vibe was very similar to Paul. I just thought Paul Reiser was a Richard Lewis ripoff. I still am a big Richard, rest in peace, a big, huge Richard Lewis fan. Thought he was the OG. So I wrote a question that said, hey, did you ever think that Mad About You was influenced by your sitcom, your kind of short-lived sitcom before that came out? And Richard Lewis said, yup. He said, but by the way, he goes, that's a great question. He goes, yup. And then he started to shit talk.
Oh, shit. So all because of your
He
question.
started to shit talk Paul Reiser. Richard Lewis shit talk Paul Reiser. And that got a little media coverage. That was a Davey Mack question, Daddy. Boom.
Would you say that Paul?
No, it wasn't Big A who I gave any. Big Andrew didn't get any questions.
Why are
GVAC
nipples so big?
Yeah, I gave people who I knew were going to be able to really memorize the questions.
So it doesn't look like
Yeah, they couldn't actually get up. I told them, memorize this. Don't get up reading from the fucking card. That would look crazy. So I said, here's the card. You have one out. You have the entire unmasked area, interview. But just try to memorize this question a little bit. Okay, don't take the card out. And so Andrew, big Andrew, I love him. But no. A lot of G-Mac was giving a lot of questions. Folks, different folks like that.
It's very cool that you got to do the kind of in-depth questions a little bit without, and I don't mean this the wrong way, like part of what we see with Fez coming here is it's very hard to both foster the friendship or like a congenial interview and ask deeper questions at the same time, because it feels, as Fez points out, like prying. Now, Fez, possibly the worst person to try to get an interview.
Well, yeah, I mean, prying, it's an interview.
Well,
I mean,
that is the
have
actual line from later in on this.
I have to ask you questions.
Ron even goes, that's a good point, Fez. It is an interview. He does have to ask you some questions.
Yeah.
But it all starts because Ron goes, you should know that. I hear that you're running around telling all these people that you have this background in interviewing. Where does that come from? And we learned that you thought you were going to follow in your brother's footsteps.
Yes, I legitimately took journalism classes. And not just journalism 101, but journalism 102.
Ooh.
As well. Okay? Which is why I know certain things, certain rules that you must play by. If you don't, you're done. I'll tell you a guy who I suspect doesn't play by the rules. Adam Schefter on ESPN. Because he is always concerned about getting that scoop out on Twitter or X, whatever. And here's the issue. If you don't check, if you get someone calling you up, giving you a scoop, you then have to go to a minimum of 3 sources after that. So in journalism, it's got to be at least 4 sources. Wow. If someone gives you something, you have to contact 3 other sources to confirm it. Schefter never does that shit. Someone gives him an information and he's all on X. Here's the problem with that. You can be used. If you're a journalist in that case, that person might have something that they're thinking about for themselves. Oh, Adam, my client was just offered $160 million for 4 years by the Chicago Bears. Schefter then goes down to report. That never happened. But the guy wants that kind of money for his client. And then maybe someone else, the Tennessee, Titans or whatever, fucking see that, and they go, "Oh, we can afford that 160 for 4 years." So you get played as a journalist if you don't go and double check that shit. I know all the rules. That's the point about me.
Well, I was laughing. Did you see? Speaking of the rules, somebody asked Aaron Rodgers. They said, people close to you have said this might be it, and he quoted the Tropic Thunder, where he goes, people said they were close to me. But just making the point. Like, there's funny. No one who knows what's going on.
Well, Schefter got the fucking Brady thing wrong.
Big time.
Remember before his final season that he played?
Yeah, he got Brady.
He said, Brady's done. Brady's done after 2 years. You heard it here first. And Brady's like, well, you never call. Oh, the other thing is, another rule is, if you do a story about someone, you must contact them. And then you must put in the story what they said. And if they say no comment, you say, I tried reaching out to Tom Brady, but he declined to comment. But Schefter didn't do that. You must get at least 4 sources, 1 source and then 3 sources to confirm or to back it up. Plus, you must always contact the subject of the story. He didn't contact fucking Brady. This is how I know that fucking Adam Schefter is a shitty journalist. I know for a fact. Because how do you go on X and go, Tom Brady's retiring? And Brady's like, nope. You never called me, doofus.
You and I have talked about it. We literally think that he gave Brady one more ring because Brady was going to retire until Schefter tried to scoop him on it.
Yeah, and he never called Brady.
That's my point. Yeah, if he had done that, then
Adam Schefter ain't no journalist. He's a glorified fucking blogger who's found his way onto ESPN. That's all he is.
Now, did you learn these lessons at school, or is this
Monmouth University, Robert, in West Long Branch, New Jersey, where I also took film classes, television classes, and radio classes, and journalism was required.
Makes sense.
So I took the journalism. A+. Does that sound familiar? Because that's the fucking grade I got, yo.
I mean,
That's the grade I got.
isn't Monmouth one of those schools where they let the special needs kids in too?
No.
Oh, that's Penn State. My bad.
It has a top 10 in the United States of America communication program. Top 10. With the Syracuses of the world. Monmouth is there.
They do call it the Syracuse of New Jersey. I've heard that.
Honestly, as someone who worked at Monmouth's radio station, it's better than most professional radio stations. It actually is. They've got a phenomenal radio station. And setup, really.
Clearly a long list of successful alumni with you on there and a network you could reach out to. And,
No, I don't know anyone else
well, that would have been
who graduated Monmouth who's been...
That would have been real fucking helpful, Dave.
In fact, when I was on Sirius XM, my Professor Ferguson, he goes to his he goes to the students. Eastside Dave McDonald is working on the Opie and Anthony channel, and there was a mixed bag. He told someone of, oh really, and oh I fucking hate that guy, or I hate those guys.
Okay. But they at least knew who you were?
They did. Some of them said they fucking hated me. Others said they hated O&A.
You've been on Reddit?
So I dodged a bullet.
Shit doesn't change.
Oh, fuck, everyone loves me.
That I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about producers of the world.
Oh.
But the reason I ask is, so we find out that you have some background in interviewing. Your brother is a journalist.
My brother Patrick is a very successful journalist. Yes.
And with that knowledge, Ron presents to you, Dave, I'd like you to interview one person of the show. Now, Ron right away assumes what I assumed. If you got to interview one person of the Ron and Fez crew, who would it be? Earl.
No, I think I'd go Fez.
And what is that thought process? Because I was curious how you ended up on him.
Earl's going to give me nothing. And even if Fez doesn't give me anything, the squirming and uncomfortability will be fun. Whereas Earl will give you nothing, and then it'll be like a guy fell asleep with his eyes open. He just goes away mentally sometimes.
Yeah, I can see
that. He just stares at you. Fez, it's going to be uncomfortable, odd, strange. Yeah. No. I had to go with Fez over Earl.
We do hear in the audio, because you pause for a second. You're like, I don't know. And Ron's like, what? What are you not confident? And you go, I'm just deciding between you and Fez. And Ron goes, I'll tear you the fuck up if you try to interview me.
What? Then why would you do that? Dude, I mean, if I'm interviewing him, I'm trying to get a nice article written.
And
tear me up?
Well, and it does kind of set the tone for Fez then, right? Because it puts that idea out into the universe that somebody should give Dave a hard time here. It shouldn't be easy, right?
Now, true. Should be like a 60 Minutes episode where I'm trying to fucking get the answer, and then the subject is stonewalling me, maybe sweating a little bit on the upper lip there. that kind of classic 60 Minutes. Well, I thought you were in charge. Are you in charge? Are you the one? And then the person's always like, I'm not really in charge. I love those type of things. So maybe I was trying to go for that.
So, but you weren't. Like, you came into this super positive, and it felt like they were putting a wall up. And again, that would make funny radio.
Yeah.
Especially if it's one of those two. But I just kind of felt weird. Then the article you said you were going to interview, or the paper, was The Advocate. Is that a newspaper? Did you just pick a random one out of?
Isn't that a gay magazine or gay newspaper?
I honestly didn't know where it came from. Looking at the name now, that does make a little sense.
I think that was my little stupid joke.
I think
it was a gay.
Yeah,
Rod did that?
Yeah, which makes sense.
Oh, that's funny.
So now you've chosen to interview somebody who you know. Like, Fez. It would be like if I was going to interview you.
Yes.
What's your approach as you go in the hallway to collect your thoughts? Are you like...
I'm just trying to get a bunch of really good questions for Fez. Let's get to know Fez. Let's have some questions there that in which we will all learn a little bit more.
And
about Fez.
It's so funny you chose that because it seems like the one thing Fez went into the view with was, I do not want people to get to know me.
Yeah, I don't want anything. He's like a CIA type of person sometimes. It's like, well, you might want to know me more, but I'm not going to let you know me more. I'm not giving you shit.
So you come in and you have this thought process that you're now interviewing Fez, who, like you said, isn't going to give you shit. And even we heard on the radio, Ron asked him, is this a work or a shoot? And Fez goes, I think I'm going to give him a hard time.
I left to get my questions.
Yeah, you
and Ron and Fez are, yeah.
So I don't think you know what you're walking into.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, in the back of your mind, you kind of know, even if you went in to be as open as a book, it's going to be pulley teeth.
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. Or maybe, he could have decided to be open, but then just fucking lie.
That would have been
just make up
very
shit.
funny.
Yeah.
So you come in, and we know that Fez is Fez, and the first question you ask him after you introduce yourself, and they won't shake your hands because apparently you had shit on your hands a few days prior, which just made me laugh.
Days? Yeah. I mean, I do shower. Usually, every day.
And Ron goes, no, this is Dave now. He's doing the character. He's from The Advocate. And Fez goes, I'm still not shaking his hand, which made me laugh really hard. But the first question you ask, you go, so Fez Whatley, is that your real name?
Yeah.
And right away, even if he wasn't going to shut you down, boom, there goes the hammer. Like, any ingratiating is gone. Because he goes, that's my name. And you go, is that your real name? And he goes, that's my name. And that repeats several times. And at this point, if you were doing a real interview, like even as radio, where's your mind go? Like, if today,
I wouldn't ask him what's his real name or is that your real name. I would not have done that. But maybe I was also trying to fuck around a little bit too.
So Cher, is that your real name?
Yeah. Again, I'm not. If I have Sting, either, quite frankly, the wrestler or the singer, I'm not going to be like, so Sting, what's your name, man? But I'm a little troublemaker at times, so I could have imagined a little mischief making with that question.
And you got to make radio too.
Yeah,
right? So it's got to be entertaining.
This started to sound more like when we put Big A or Daniel Bobo Curlin or Bronx Johnny under interrogation on the Davey Max sports program. It's starting to have that type of feel.
It does kind of feel like that is what developed from how this interview went.
Yeah,
like
it's more of a police interrogation than a friendly interview.
And I don't think it's the worst question in the world. Just one of my favorite stories.
It's pretty bad.
I've ever heard Nick DiPaolo tell is he was arguing with a black comic named Hurricane about politics, and it escalated to their screaming. He finally goes, "Hey man, fuck! You know what? What's your real name? Because I'm not going to yell Hurricane across a bar at a grown man." And it's just like,
that's hysterical.
There are certain levels where you could mask off, right? You could interview the guy, but that's not what Fez wants.
No.
And so right away, the next question you ask is, what is your first memory of laughing? Like, what's the first thing you remember that made you laugh?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a fantastic question. My God.
It is, and it may have needed some building up to get to that level of.
I mean, come on. What's the first thing that you thought was funny? Couldn't that be a very revealing answer? Couldn't we get some insight into Fez Whatley with that? That's a fucking winning question right there. Well, I'm sorry.
Here's the thing. I think you did, but you blew past it because he said a rattle.
He said what?
A rattle was probably the first thing.
What?
A rattle?
A rattle. Wait, so he remembers when he was a baby?
That he said, well, you said the first thing that made me laugh. It was probably a rattle.
No, that's not fair. Like, the first thing that probably made me laugh was honestly the Muppet Show. And specifically, honestly, Animal used to crack my ass up. So I can legitimately remember laughing the fuck at Animal and the Muppet Show. Like, that was like the first thing I remember at least laughing, not a fucking rattle.
Well, and here's what I think is interesting. I think you shaped the questions. Like, if somebody wanted to learn Eastside Dave better, these are the questions that would lead you to know Eastside Dave better.
No, I think that the whole "what's the first time you laughed" Fez is good.
And he eventually says Captain Kangaroo.
All right.
And you go, well, let's go through your teenagedom. And he goes, teenagedom, is this your adultdom? And that made me laugh really hard. Like, that was just a great line from him. But you know Fez as a human being. You know him on the air. You know him off the air at this point.
Yes.
It feels like the questions you're asking here, you would want to know from Fez regardless. Like, you're not giving the fill in the blanks that a normal interview would. It almost feels like you're taking what you actually don't know about Fez at the time and trying to ask him those questions. Do you feel like there was any element of that?
I'm just trying to get a little insight into the Fez man. That's about it. I'm trying to come up with some good questions.
And again, if you were dealing with a less hostile interviewee, you might get decent stuff out of this, but you really just lean in.
Yeah.
Because he's giving you nothing and you just keep drilling. Because, okay, so let's move on. Captain Kangaroo, like, how about growing up? What was the next influence? How'd that evolve over the years?
You mean with the laughing question?
Yeah. Or comedic influences. Like
Okay.
growing up, because he started there. And then he reveals sitcoms. You go like, well, what sitcom character? And he says Hot Lips or something. And it's just like,
Let's Houlihan.
he keeps shutting you down. But if you would think about it, the answers he's giving are actual real answers to think about Fez. Like, did a rattle influence him comedically? I don't think he's shaking maracas. But if you think about how he kind of jumps in, jumps out, quick line, make you laugh, back out.
Silly.
Like, instantaneous. Exactly. Same as Captain Kangaroo.
I mean, well, what I would say is we'll go away from what you were saying.
Okay.
And we'll say maybe that's a Freudian thing there with Fez, in that, you know, he's a little baby and he's seeing a rattler, and basically it's like he always liked the show. He always liked lots of energy, lots of noise, movement. When you think of all the things that Fez did, which, you know, burst into O&A doing a strip tease or shit like that. It was always a surprise, movement,
loud,
and loud, and silly and goofy. And if you think about it, like, you're doing a rattle with a little baby, like, that's the type of shit that, I could see that. I actually could see that.
And there's no deeper level. Like, there's no meaning behind a rattle. It's just here to laugh at.
Yeah.
Don't think too much about it. That's all he wanted to be, was a rattle to people.
Yeah.
You think about,
he's like a human rattle. He's just like a big, huge rattle when you think about it.
Okay, I don't know, just a huge rattle, but
no,
like,
well, yeah, I mean, with thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And you got Hot Lips Houlihan, who's there to make you laugh and then just disappears, right? It's not a continual, like, oh, we need to know the backstory of why Hot Lips is upset today. And so I do think you actually were learning.
Yeah, did you see, have you watched MASH?
No. I was -30.
Oh, shut up! I wasn't alive then either. I wasn't alive. When MASH the movie came out, I wasn't born. Then when the fucking television show came out, I wasn't born. Now, towards the, like, Baby Dave, it was still probably on the air at the end. But my point being, you should be familiar with these American classics, especially MASH the movie. Because what I was going to say to you is that Hot Lips Houlihan gets topless in the movie. And I always preferred movie Hot Lips over TV Hot Lips. I'm sorry.
Well, I think we may have to take a break so I can Google Hot Lips Houlihan.
Hot Lips. Hot Lips movie. She was in the shower, and they had it fixed so that the whole shower was like a tent. And all of the you know, it would just be lifted up all of a sudden. And everyone in the MASH unit sat around on little lawn chairs watching this entire fucking disgrace happen, by the way. I don't blame Hot Lips for being pissed. I don't.
I wish I could relate more to Hot Lips. I think I have to watch the MASH movie today.
Oh, MASH the movie's fantastic. Damn, bro. Robert Altman? Does that man means nothing to you?
I was always more of an 18 guy.
18?
I love it when a
the
plan
fuck
comes together.
did that have to do with Robert Altman?
They're both Vietnam.
Oh,
both
God,
soldiers.
fuck off. The goddamn MASH is Korea. Korea.
Well, clearly,
It ain't fucking no. Oh, shit.
I'm going to have Dave recover, and we'll be right back after you guys listen to a little more Ron and Fez.
What was the first job, Mr. Watley? What was one of your first jobs in life of all time?
Hand.
I heard somewhere you worked on a car. You were a car salesman, Could you elaborate on
Am I
that?
supposed to fill in the blank here? Car.
You were a car salesman. Please elaborate on that experience, if you would.
I worked on a car lot. I parked cars and I washed them.
Mm-hmm. And did that give you any motivation? I mean, how do you think that motivated you or didn't motivate you to go from someone who washes cars into talking in front of millions of people on a national level? Is quite a big evolution. I'd be curious to hear about that.
Millions.
It motivated me by not wanting wet
who's
feet.
that again?
Oh, I'm Ron.
That's Ron Bennington.
Bennington?
I'm the guy
Right there.
that feels as bored as the listeners. I represent the bored audience.
These are good questions. Okay, Fez Watley, we've heard.
Let me just step in for you.
Sure.
Number one, you already instead of doing an interview, you get an adversary, right?
Oh, yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I do. I
didn't
don't
wanna-
feel...
So why, when you first work at putting him at ease, Fez, why would you see him as an adversary?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Because it's any sort of personal question like that. Now, even if it's not, so personal, it feels like prying.
But it's an interview.
Yeah, it is an interview.
True.
So do you think when I do an unmasked, it's prying?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm just saying the way I feel.
Right. So you would never feel comfortable doing an unmasked episode with me?
No, I probably wouldn't. No.
That's a shame. I think
It makes
people
me
would-
feel really bad about the program I do.
I think people.
I'm a
would-
pryor.
Yeah, and people want to hear.
Pest.
No, not at all.
You're not.
No,
one of
it's
that.
me having trouble opening up about things.
Absolutely not. You sat around and opened up the whole last break. You're a very open person.
Right, but I don't know. It just, what it comes down to?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, and here's a problem I have. It feels like there's going to be wrong and right answers.
But why would, well, all I would be looking for is to find out how you create, what your interests are.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that something that you think would be worth sharing with people?
Yeah, that would be worth sharing, yeah. But I just...
No, I
was
want to go
trying
back
to-
to you, Dave.
but-
Yeah.
I want you to see what I did with him.
Yeah.
Look at the way that he's behaving differently.
Okay.
Because I came in and let him know, I'm not here to hurt you.
Right.
I'm here to help you share with other people.
Okay.
You came in, you had an adversary, right?
Yeah.
And you paid no attention. You had some
Right.
pre-written questions.
I was trying to soldier on in hopes that he would ease up as the interview progressed.
Do you think it was going to, or was he just barreling in tighter?
I thought he might be opening, but yeah, towards the end he barreled in. But I think yeah, you're right. I should try and
You should have eased him a little bit,
Yeah,
and let
I
him know
could.
that you're not here to take something from him, but you're here to help him express himself.
I am. What I'm here to do is try and show what what are the inner workings of Fez, but really specifically, I'd be curious, and so would millions of my readers, to know what are the inner workings of Fez's comedy. Because
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Do you notice that you just used
are
the
you?
word inner workings?
Right.
You just used the worst fucking phrase you can with him.
Yeah.
You're not
No, yeah.
paying attention to what he's saying.
Right.
See, and Dave, there's a difference. Dave sounds like an inquisition, because it is
He
one...
sounds like you got pulled over by a cop.
Yeah, it's one question after... It's not conversational.
Right.
All right.
Like,
I'll
in a
chuck
very
you my papers.
conversational way, yeah,
By
I
the
could
way,
probably be
I made
unmasked.
the Z-Man throw his fucking pages away, too. It was the worst interview ever. We had a really nice conversation, and then it was interview time, and he started to read, and his eyes would dart around. And then he asked me, you're on the air at 9/11, right? And I started to tell him about it, and he was like, yeah. Yeah, and not paying attention, and he's going look, we better change. And then finally I'm like, look, I can't fucking be in this. Get rid of your questions. And made him throw his questions around and just talk to me. And he's still a really bad interviewer, but he doesn't know it. He thinks he's great.
He totally does.
Yeah.
Okay, Fez. Let's throw out the questions. Let's start as pals. Okay? Let's start the way we could be. All right?
Now it sounds like you want something from me.
No, I don't. All I want you to be is comfortable. And I want to be I hope this is a fun chit-chat. Okay.
Chit chat makes me feel uncomfortable, but okay.
Let's talk about right now. Fuck all that childhood nonsense. It's just me and you talking, shooting the breeze. Comedy. What do you like? What do you don't like? Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. Comedy. No, come on.
You know that you're a bad interviewer, right?
Mr. Journalism.
That's why you panicked. You realized this is a really bad interview. And on the other side, Fez, you are going to have the worst fucking thing written about you.
Oh, yeah.
You feel really strong now. You're going to fucking read an interview about what a tight-ass prick and you are being defenseless. So you really have, once he's in your life, you're going to have to fucking deal with him on some level, you know?
Right, yeah.
And your wise-ass answers are going to get crushed because we won't, when we're reading the interview, we're going to be on his side immediately. It's his account.
Yeah.
So this is how
And
you
his
read
point
stuff.
of view.
And you're going, what a dick Tom Hanks is. Kept rushing the guy along. I mean, it happens all the time.
I know. We're just talking as friends. I mean, as you know, colleagues. That's the way I think of it. All right. Let's talk about you on the air. How about that?
Okay.
Just give me an unpleasant experience. Well, just give me
This interview.
Now, again, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of what makes you tick.
You won't. You won't get off of that one.
And he's still reading, Ron. He keeps looking at his page.
Look, Fez does not want to expose the bottom of what makes him tick. You have asked him, you might as well go like this. Let's take a look at your dick hole. Let me get a magnifying glass and hold it up to your dick hole and take a picture.
Okay,
For the cover
here we go. Let's take this seriously now.
of The Advocate.
Fez Whatley sitting down here, just having a good time.
Yes.
Do you have to be sad to write a sad song? Do you have to be love to write a love song?
You think you're a people person?
I'm probably not a people person.
Okay, and why do you think that is? I mean, tell me exactly what made you that way.
Tell me.
I know.
Tell me exactly everything that's wrong with you.
These are the questions I ask my therapist about myself. Not that I can answer. If I can't answer them in therapy yet, I can't answer them for you.
Well, think. God damn it.
Give me something, you boring prick. This is literally the worst interview I've ever heard.
It's really bad.
All right, here we go. Fez.
Yeah, you're still looking at that paper.
No, I'm not. That's nothing right. Okay, here we go. Fez. Fez, when you, in the day, okay, the day goes from midnight to midnight. What hours are you happiest? What hours do you feel good? You feel like, you know, hey, I'm Fez Whatley. I'm having a good day.
It's been a while since I could pick out a time frame when I feel good.
Oh. Okay, but if you had to guess. No, I mean, do you? Okay.
So you're not accepting my answer.
No, I am. It's been a while, and that's you know, I'm sad to hear that. Do you think you could turn it around?
I'm
Are
hoping
you really
to.
this bad of a fucking journalist?
See, why don't you tap out and admit you know nothing about journalism?
I do.
I always say this. I'm hearing a bad interviewer with a bad interviewee. I have never heard anyone more defensive as an interviewee. Why did you ever say you would do this article with The Advocate?
It was a mistake.
It's rough. He's really, you know. But again, I'm just here to help you. I'm here to expose your talent.
Expose.
Yeah, it was the wrong choice of words.
Yes.
We're back to the dick hole.
And the thing is, all you do is the wrong choice of role. The best thing that you do is put stuff in your ass. That's the only reason that you would be on the radio.
No, come on. These are very valid questions. People want to know about Fez.
Again, that is something to drive him into a hole.
All right.
People want to know about you. That is something that you have somebody who's defensive, right?
Yeah.
And everything that you're saying is making him more defensive.
Okay, let's get off on the right foot here. Fez Whatley, what's something you like about yourself? What? Come on, but let's be serious here and do the interview. What's something that you like about yourself? You go home and say, God damn it, I just really like that about me.
I don't go home and say those things. I don't go home and say those things. If you're looking for some insight, I don't do that.
Okay, how about this? What's something that
Now, why wouldn't you follow that up? Why would you now? For the first time ever, he gave you something that was honest about him.
I was going to say.
And instead of staying with him, you're not even matching his tonality.
No.
You went, let's go somewhere else. you literally said, this isn't working with your tonality.
Yeah.
And you tried to jump into another crazy exposed question.
Okay.
But he gave you the first honest answer.
No, you're right.
And I'm not giving him the answers he wants as an interviewer for some reason.
That was interesting. So what is it? Why do you go home and are so sad?
Then why go home?
No, really. What do you think?
Look at his crazy eyes. You've stopped focusing.
Okay, Fez Watley.
Why do you keep saying his name over and over like that?
Yeah.
Don't
Make
you
it feel
think-
important.
No, how does that make you feel when he says Fez Watley over and over?
Like I'm on the witness stand.
And remember your first question, what's your real name?
Okay. But Fez, just having a good time here, talking about stuff.
That is stupid. That sounds as bad as any overnight DJ in Jersey. You get another 5 minutes here.
Okay. What's something that you do well when you're on the what's something that you like to do on the show, on the Ron Fez radio show?
Let's see. I like to interact with everybody on the show.
No, that's interesting because a few questions ago you said you weren't a people person. So do you find that to be conflicting? And if so, how does it influence your job?
Well, the accusations are flying now.
No, I'm not. I'm just I'm trying to understand you because you said you're not a people person.
I'm not a people person in the sense of, being comfortable around a lot of strangers. I'm not naturally gregarious.
Okay, so why do you think it's different when you're on the air that you can engage people?
Because there I have people that I know, people that I love, people that I trust, and it's easier for me. It's like being with friends or family.
But are you at home? Okay, say you go someplace and you have friends and you have a stranger there. Are you able to communicate with that stranger off the air?
The worst interview. That's what you think people would want to read?
They want to hear this stuff. Fez, just having a fun time here.
Why do you always say that weird
I'll
thing?
try to make him
Fez, just having some fun. Rolling along.
Fez, what
You're the worst interviewer.
No, hold on. Wait, I got something here. Fez, what CD is in your CD player right now?
It is the last U2 album. And I'm sorry, I can't think of the name of it.
The bomb, something. How to save the bomb. How to get rid of the bomb.
Dismantle.
How to dismantle the atomic bomb.
Is that the one in your changer?
You know what? It's the one before that. Sorry about that.
All that you can leave behind.
Yeah, that's it.
And how regularly do you listen to that album?
Is that what is really the key to him? How many times he's listening to the same album over and over?
I thought I might get some insight into how he thinks. I mean, some people would say that's a sad album.
I listened to it last weekend, and it's probably the first time in, 9 months that I've probably had it in the CD player.
That was a sad weekend for you, right?
Yeah.
When is that? You said you had a very sad weekend.
Yeah.
Did you keep listening to that album?
I only listened to a couple of songs on it.
What songs?
Stuck in a Moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think. Beautiful Day.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember when that album came out? What you were doing at that time?
Oh, yeah, I do.
What's that?
That was 9/11.
So you're having a sad weekend, and you find yourself sitting around listening to a lot of music that you were listening to around the time of 9/11.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
Wonder if there's any correlation there, why you had such a sad weekend. Now, it would be a question, would you listen to the music first, or when you feel sad like that, do you want to go back to your 9/11 feeling?
Mm-hmm. Those are good questions. No, and I was going to ask.
It's not so much the questions. I was paying attention to him.
No.
I was listening to him.
Yeah. Do you think that music or movies stimulate certain emotions from you?
I don't.
Why do you talk like you've never used the English language before?
What do you mean?
You're not talking like yourself. You
Try to be professional.
you know anything about psychology?
I'm trying to be
You
professional.
just talk to me like I'm a lab rat.
No, this is my professional.
Have
type of
my
way.
emotional responses been stimulated in my rat brain?
No, not at all.
You think he's a rat brain?
No, absolutely not.
If you think he is, just say so.
No, I don't.
Just say I'm interviewing a rat brain.
No. I think his brain is a lot more complex than that of a rat's.
Thank you.
So, in the end,
The love you take is equal to the love you make.
why are you still on the radio? What about radio still excites you? Why do you come to work every day?
Why are you yelling?
Why are we so angry now?
That wasn't anger. That was like excitement.
That was your pep talk?
That was my excitement, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I still love coming in here every day, and I love working with Ron.
It's a good answer.
Not really. It's not a good answer. It's still a defensive answer. Why do you love it? Because I love it. Why do you still come here? Because I love it. You're not finding out his real motivation.
Yeah.
He gave away a little bit. I like working with Ron. What is it
Why?
about Ron?
Why do you like working with Ron? Why?
But why? You make it seem like there's something crazy and mysterious, like you're interviewing a Martian rather than another human being.
All right.
I can't believe they gave you a diploma. I never walked inside a classroom in my life, and I know that you're wrong.
Right. No, I mean, what is it about Ron that you like, Fez?
Here's what I'm saying.
No.
It's not so much that you're a bad journalist.
Yeah.
You're a bad human being. You are not
That's
a very
what it
good
is.
human
That's a
being.
broad statement.
No, it's one that needs to be said.
I don't think just because you may disagree on my journalistic skills doesn't
Everyone does.
across the board mean I'm a bad person.
So you asked Fez about comedic influences, and he said TV show. And then you did something you accused Carl of earlier, which is you paid no attention to his response. You just kept barreling forward like a fucking car through a crowd of people.
Yes, let's keep in mind, like I said, at this, what year is this?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, so I mean, come on, 30. Carl Kraft is 60.
Oh, and there's also a difference, too, where there are certain trap wires around Fez. Like certain things that you could say that would set him off that may not even be meant as a slight, but could be taken as some.
Well, that's true.
We've had the Machiavellian barbecue at this point. All of these things, and it's all kind of led to this. It feels almost, not to use the term, but like you're walking on eggshells a little bit with the interview. You don't want to drill too hard, but you're trying to learn something, which I guess is something any journalist would find themselves in when they're first meeting somebody.
Yeah.
But it's amplified because it's actually a personal relationship.
Yeah, and also keep in mind that most journalists aren't doing it on the air. So you're doing an interview, but you're recognizing that you're on the radio, so you want to have a little fun. It's really more of a bit. This isn't an actual interview because where am I going to fucking publish this shit?
Not the Advocate.
Yeah, Advocate. I can't take this fucking thing to Newsweek or Time Magazine. But so we are doing a bit for the radio, but I was trying to do an actual journalistic thing.
And you could see some of these questions leading along a path. You could see the thought line you were going with what you were trying to get into. But you ask him next about his first job.
All right.
And you go, what was your first job? And Fez hits you with hand. And you go, okay, I heard you worked on a car lot. And I got to tell you, Dave, you could have had fun with that, man.
Wait, his first job?
He said was a hand job. And you were so flustered at this point that you didn't even take the time to laugh.
I didn't get it then, and I didn't get it now.
Okay. Well,
I had no idea what the fuck you're talking about. First job, hand. Okay, I get hand job. That's great.
it's actually pretty funny. And
Oh my lord.
if you hadn't felt the animosity, you could have been like, oh, that's a fun joke and play it on it. But it feels like at this point he had just shut you down and you kind of shut down back.
No, I didn't get the fucking joke because I didn't get it now. So I'm telling you, I'm going back in time. I didn't get the hand job joke. Just like right now, I didn't
Apparently,
get
you don't
it.
get a lot of hand jobs.
Well, I mean, come on.
No.
I'm trying to take this thing very seriously with the questions to Fez, and he's talking hand jobs.
And that's 100% fair. Obviously, it's for radio. You're playing along. I'm not going to... But if you were doing an interview, like I've seen you interview a couple of people.
Where do you go from there? I set him up. That's the punchline. Next question. He got a fucking joke.
This isn't about that in particular. But if you had felt an interview kind of going south,
right?
Have you ever found yourself in a professional situation, like whether it be the Davey Max Sports Program, where you're interviewing somebody and they are shutting you down like this? You know, we've had a number of people. The Guardians guy was great. He played along.
Yeah, I mean, usually not. The only time I can't say that I've ever had anyone on the air that I've been excited for, be kind of not give their all. I suppose sometimes when you're just talking to like a Daniel Bobo Curlin.
I've seen that.
And if you're asking him questions and he just gives the one-word answer, then I will say, great give and take there, Bo. Awesome. I love this back and forth that we're doing and blah, blah, blah. But as far as anyone that I've actually, like Kurt Angle was on, all of the wrestlers and this, and no, I'm actually interested in them. Felipe Lopez, St. John's basketball star, former NBA player, had a 30 for 30 made about him. He was interviewed on Davey Max Sports Program. Usually I'm into the people, and they're usually they can sense my interest. Yeah, they can sense my interest and enthusiasm.
Is there any interviews that have gone the other way, where you were kind of worried it was going to be a good interview?
Yes.
That you were nervous about that ended up being
Ray Wiley Hubbard is a musician from Austin, Texas, that Roy booked for the Davey Max Sports Program. And he ended up making multiple appearances. Every single one was gold. Go check out his performances on YouTube. Davey Max Sports Program, Ray Wiley Hubbard. But Roy's like, hey, I got this great, he's like a local legend in Austin, Texas. And he's this great musician. And I booked him for the show. And I'm like, okay, I will say, I know absolutely nothing about this person. And usually when we're talking musical guests, like I need to be familiar, I'm a fan. So I had no idea what he sounded like or this or that. And I still didn't know before the fucking interview. I literally asked Roy, I said, hey, Roy, you're going to have to write 10 questions for this gentleman.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew nothing about him.
No,
Roy booked it. So I'm like, Roy, I need you to fucking write the questions. I'll try to keep this in one piece. But I really felt quite... I don't get nervous or terrified, but I just felt like, well, this is going to go like shit. This is just going to be a totally lost episode and lost segment. And in fact, it was purely magical. Ray Wiley Hubbard came on 2 or 3 times subsequently after that because he had such a great time and because we had such a great time with him. In fact, the second time he came on after it, he literally goes, I'm sorry, guys. I got here a little bit later than I expected. He got there like 7 p.m. We go, no big deal. We can start this podcast whenever we want. But, I mean, you seem out of breath. What's going on? He goes, oh, yeah, I just did Letterman. I was running from Letterman to here. No shit. He was the musical guest on 11:30, prime time late night with David Letterman on CBS. And because he had just finished at 5:45 or 6 o'clock or something, he's like, oh, we got to do the David Max Sports Program over there. Everyone hurry up. I was like, holy fuck. Like, this guy just apologized for being just literally a couple minutes late.
Because he was doing the
doing
biggest show on television at that point.
So Ray Wiley Hubbard's phenomenal.
That's awesome.
And he's also, I've become a huge fan of his music. Drunken Poet's Dream or Snake Farm or all the fucking great songs that he writes. He's wonderful. He's my kind of fucking musician. He's got, I would say he's like, if you like Ray Wiley Hubbard, if you like Warren Zevon, Zevon with the piano and the shit. But this guy is like Warren Zevon if he's from Texas and just a guitarist, but also can write a great lyric or two.
Yeah,
all right.
I've obviously watched the episode.
Yeah, he's got that kind of thing. Amazing musician. I love Ray Wiley Hubbard. So that was one time that I thought, well, this thing's not going to go well. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, that was one of the best episodes of all time.
It's going down in history.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time that you thought it wasn't going to go well and it didn't? Like perhaps when, somebody was like, hey, can I get an internship? And then they've ruined your life for the next 5 years.
Yeah, Robert Tamburo.
That's what I was getting at. But so at this point, Ron kind of swoops in and goes, Dave, I got to stop. He said something. You ask who he is. He goes, I represent the audience and how bored they are right now, which is funny. But he was kind of like pointing out, he was like, Dave, you feel like you have an adversary here? What's your thought process? You said you were just going to barrel through and hope he loosened up, which Ron points out might be effective if you're doing like one of those I'm staying with this guy for a week interviews, like you were trained to do
right
in journalism, but not so much for radio. And in that time, Ron kind of softens up Fez a little bit and shows him how he would do it, how he would get him to talk about things. But the one thing we learn is Fez does not want you to get to the bottom of who Fez Whatley, or dare we say Todd, is. Right. He really wants.
I mean, that's why he was such an interesting subject to cover. That's why I wanted to go with Fez. Was because of the mystery, which is Fez.
And here's where I feel like the Davey Mack interrogation or kind of overly intense interview begins to form. Because you keep going, I'm just trying to get to the bottom. And Ron just keeps going, you're not. Stop saying that. The minute you say that and you keep trying to become a buddy with Fez, Ron tells a story that he had somebody throwing notes out during an interview once just because he was like, it was so awkward and then it was okay. And like, so you try to come in with that approach and you're like, Fez, it's just me and Dave. We're just sitting down being buddies. But truly what I think is funny is that's who you've become as an interview person.
What's that?
Is the guy who's just hanging out as buddies.
Yeah.
You might get to a deeper level through questions, but it's more just conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I try to come in with a few things I definitely want to ask. But now I can honestly pay attention to what the person's saying. And I believe I am a good follow-up question asker. I believe that my listening skills are what separate me from others and that I'm able to feed off of them with a line of questioning from something that they just said. It's the same thing to, if you want to improv a little comedy bit, you got to be listening to the other person in the room and then go with it and everything like that. I'm much better now than I was then. I'll tell you that much. I mean, that's fucking 17 years ago.
Well, that's good. Anyway, my next question.
I get it.
Thank you. No, but it truly shows how far you've come over the years.
It does. I've come so far. I've come so far. I've accomplished so many things, and yet have so little to show for. Yes.
But what I was going to say is, even when you were first starting out as a character on the Ron and Fez show, you would drive the bit. Like it would be Dave's doing something that we talk about. Now I think it's even more fun to watch you just be conversational. And there is no bit. It's just you being on the ball, being funny, being entertaining. And I did mean that as a compliment.
Thank you very much.
Came across as shitty. So
thank you very much. The sun's in your eyes. Do you want me to do anything about that?
How about that? I'll just sit back.
All right.
Thank you. So when Ron shows that you're kind of being over the top, zealous, he comes in and he kind of talks to Fez like they're buddies and gets Fez to loosen up some and shows you how to do it. And you do go right back to grilling. But Fez does start to open up a little bit about it. And I got to give you a compliment.
You gotta keep working that nut. It's a hard nut to crack, but if you keep working that fucking thing, you're going to get to the good stuff.
You asked Fez, when is he happiest in the day?
Wow. That's a fucking question, folks. That's some Pulitzer shit.
And I did paraphrase it a little bit because you go, and the day starts at midnight to midnight. Trying to make it sound like a little more professional than just two guys talking.
Right.
And Fez says, I can't remember the last time.
Wow. What is your happiest point in the day? And he says, I can't remember the last time he was
having
happy.
A hard time picking, like an hour regularly.
Oh, boy.
And
you
follow.
That's some dark shit.
Right. And it's his first time he's opened up to you.
I can't remember the last time I was happy.
And you go, come on, give me something. Just make it up. Like, you don't lean into it. This is the first time you got him to be vulnerable.
No, that's my inexperience.
Well, I was going to say, how do you learn, like, oh, this is the time to press, how not to when you're interviewing somebody over the years? Like, clearly you've gotten good at that.
Because I think I learned that to do fun shit on the radio, you really listening is just as important as talking. Because listening gives you all your ideas. If someone says something either funny or nonsensical or blah, 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 then that can spark something that for you to say, or a character, or a sketch, or a joke, or a put down. There's all that kind of shit. So obviously, this was a very nerve-wracking experience for me. I'm doing my first real professional interview on the air, live. Yeah. But that was a good question and a great answer from Fez. That's some deep shit. That's some fucking deep ass shit.
You kind of blow past it. It's okay.
Like I told you, I just told you. I don't know what I'm doing at this point.
But also, even if you did know what you're doing, this is one of your close friends who you heard reveal in front of, as you put it, millions of people. Like, he's not happy. That can be a little devastating to you as an individual, too.
I just told you I wasn't listening.
Oh.
I just fucking told you. Hey, you're going to fucking belabor this goddamn point? I agree with you. That was a very good question. It was an excellent answer from Fez. Follow-up is definitely necessary. But it was 20 goddamn fucking years ago.
And you can't go back and do it now. I was saying that. So you kind of do pivot away. I get that is what I was saying. I was trying to give you a bit of an out. But that's okay. So then you ask him, what's something you like about yourself?
Oh, see, this is good shit right here. I'd love to know the answer to this.
And prior, you go, do you feel like you're a people person? And he says, no, not really. And he won't answer what he likes about himself. But you do then say, okay, what's one thing you feel like you do well on the radio? And he goes, I think I interact with everybody really well. Which
I thought that was a joke. This is how fucking insane I am. No, I thought that was a joke because he wasn't interacting well with me at all during this fucking segment. So that was actually a funny line. But all right, maybe it was said in earnest as
but
well.
Then you even go, well, that's weird because a few moments ago you said you're not a people person. And he goes, oh, look who's under interrogation now. And starts down the line of questioning right away. But you nailed it. That is the fascinating dichotomy of what people loved about Fez. Because he was so good talking to people on the radio and then behind the scenes had such a hard time feeling like he was connecting with people.
At times, I guess, yeah.
And like you really did kind of hit the nail on the head, but didn't get into it there. And it's like, could you start to see these things happening? Is that why you were asking this line of questioning? Like, were you starting to realize, Fez is starting to become depressed. He started to become isolated.
No, I didn't think. No, I didn't see these things. I was just asking a little question. I know what you're saying, but I don't think I had any conscious thing of like, I'm going to expose Fez's descent into madness and darkness. No, I just asking some questions. But his answers are good.
Yeah, it's kind of foreshadowing. Like
Yeah.
If this was a book, people would be like, there's no way he gave all that foreshadowing. But I will say the other thing that we came out of this, the last line of questioning that really leads to anywhere, was what I thought was a brilliant question. I got to know, did you rip this from somewhere?
Maybe.
You asked Fez, what's the CD currently in your CD player?
No, why would
Because it's truly a great question, and as you point out, Theron, when he's
Yeah.
like, "Why are you asking these questions?" It does give a lot of insight into a human.
because
who
I'm
doesn't want to be
interested.
open.
Yeah, I want to know what is in his fucking CD player right here, right now. Let's get some insight via what kind of music he likes, movies he likes, TV, that type of shit. Hobbies, they can oftentimes be enlightening with with regards to who you're talking about.
And I think what happened here with this whole interview, at this point, based on that question, is exactly what happens to me sometimes with jokes here, where you you should have explained it because it's funny, but you, in your mind, jumped 2 steps ahead. Like, I think you went into the interview knowing that Fez was going to shut you down. So you tried to draft questions where you could learn about Fez without Fez giving the answer.
No.
Really?
No. Totally disagree. Yes, you're talking about someone who didn't think of it that much. You put too much You brought up the Machiavellian. You put too much Machiavellian spin on things from time to time. Sometimes shit is just, I got to come up with a whole bunch of questions.
Okay.
That's it.
Well,
like, I need 15 questions. What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What are you listening to? That's it.
Well, okay.
Could I have done a better job of listing some of the answers? 100%.
Well, hey, take the compliment in that even if you didn't, what you ended up preparing was a list of things where you could learn about Fez Whatley some without him revealing anything, is what I was going to say. Like, it's interesting. Now, we learned the CD in his car was a U2 album. It wasn't Defuse the Nuclear Bomb. It was the one before that. And the reason why that bears significance is we find out that's what Fez was listening to during the terrorist attacks of 9/11.
Oh, my gosh.
And that he was having a rough weekend and sad weekend, and that's why he went to that CD.
Oh! Depressing shit. This is some dark shit.
Kind of a sad note to end on, but...
this one was what? Vertigo?
No, the one.
No, before that, Elevation. Oh, the one where it's a beautiful day. That one, right?
The Moment with You was.
Okay.
Yeah, and
all right. Great album.
Listen to as much Ron and Fez as you've been a part of it. You know that was a special time for the show. Like, it was probably the height of Fez being Fez. Everybody loved it. Before they went to DC,
what are you talking about?
2001.
Oh, okay.
2001. Like,
right.
Before they went to DC, he had all these good memories. If you had to go back now and ask a follow-up question to Fez, what would it be about that album? Because you really didn't get into it much.
Well, that is very interesting that he would have said U2, because I would have put the money on Tom Petty or REM. I wouldn't have put it necessarily on U2. So maybe I would ask him some more questions about, like, when did you get into U2? What is it about U2? I know that you're an REM and Tom Petty guy. That makes sense. He's from the South. REM was from Georgia. He's a Florida guy. Tom Petty's from Florida. Was it 9/11 that began your love for U2? Let's not forget, after 9/11, U2 played the Super Bowl in 2002, and they did Where the Streets Have No Name and put all the people who were lost. That was a huge moment. So I could almost foresee, maybe, I wonder if, Fez football fan, Super Bowl, maybe he was moved by that and became a U2 fan after that. So I think I would ask some more questions about the U2 itself.
Perhaps was there a former...
Also, does he like the Joshua Tree? Has he gotten into Joshua Tree? Has he gotten into Achtung Baby? Unforgettable Fire? Or we're just sticking with modern U2? Which, don't get me wrong, they've had some great songs.
I think before you went even down that path, I would have asked, do you like the band, or do you like somebody who likes this album? Like, does this album remind you of someone in a time period where you were hearing these songs? But I'm not the interviewer you are. You'd probably get a lot more out of it.
Correct. That's 100% true.
We're going to let the audience listen to a couple of the critiques about you. And
critiques?
From both Ron and another member of the show.
Oh, no.
And
all right.
We will be right back after you guys hear this part.
All right, Fez. Well, I think we learned a lot here, and
I'll disagree with that.
thank you very much.
I don't think we learned anything about Fez during this.
Well, no.
And I agree that Fez was being a prick at the beginning of that.
Yeah.
But that's, I would have called them out on why did you grow? What are you hiding? Why, did you, no one's forcing you to do this interview.
Right.
And what scares you about it?
Yeah.
And I can understand completely a guy who wants to, is afraid of giving up the things that he thinks he's going to give up in an interview. He thinks he's got things to hide. Right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He thinks he has things to hide. I should be saying, don't worry about hiding anything.
Well, you don't say that. I wouldn't say don't worry about hiding anything, because if he brings up something like I killed a nun when I was 14, you're going to put that in the article.
Yeah.
So you don't know what he has to hide or not, but it would be interesting to see why he's so defensive and what you could do to match him a little bit. You were an adversary with him the entire time.
Yeah. See, I thought originally I should just keep going with the questions and then he'll loosen up. It's almost to ignore it, but that probably wasn't the best strategy.
you didn't have that much time in this situation. Maybe if you had 3 or 4 days with him, but you knew you were on a tight time thing. But some other people would go, they do those type of interviews where they're yelling at the person that they're with. A, you would have been outmatched with him with that. He's a lot quicker than you. But B, it is interesting to see why he wouldn't even want to do this for fun. Why, even on a fun thing, he would think it would be more fun to mock Dave,
right,
than it is to see whether Dave can interview or not.
Yeah, to take my interview seriously.
So when you did that, Fezzi, was it done aggressively to hurt him?
Not aggressively to hurt him. More of a defensive thing, I think. Because I think if I had gotten into it with him, and even some of the things that I did answer with him, I probably would have ended up crying or something.
You would have cried talking about your career?
Not about my career, but, but he asked, 24 hours a day, what do you do, that sort of thing.
Obviously terrible fucking questions.
Oh, sure, yeah, I agree with that.
You've been unmasked. Right. I don't ask people what they do in the middle of the night. I don't ask people, how many women did you fuck? I'm not going to do it. It's stupid, those questions.
Yeah.
A, who cares? What is the really interesting thing about Fez?
The really interesting thing about Fez is he's such a dilemma, because he's so fun to be around, but then he seems to have these antisocial issues off the air, and that's such a complex situation.
So that's the most interesting thing about him.
Well, it's just like how can someone be so funny and amazing on the air, and then off the air not seem to be as happy as he could be because he's so talented.
You think there's something original about that? You've never read about funny people before?
No.
That struggle with
I guess not.
Some of them light themselves on fire and run down the street. Other people become, alcoholics or junkies. I mean, is what you're asking a unique thing? If anything, he's probably in the tradition of great funny men. So what would be any reason at all to talk to Fez?
Oh, because of the things he does. Because he's a great performer. That would be.
But
the
you
reason
never
to
ask him one question about performing.
Oh, I tried.
And guess what? That's the one thing that he can feel passionate about. You didn't ask him about specific bits. You didn't even say what, if you look back over the era, what are some of the things that you're really proudest of, to set maybe the table there a little bit. And why not let him bring up some of the things that he's not happy about before he got into it?
Yeah, well, I guess that chronology was a bad choice on my part.
They passed you in this journalism course?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I tried to get into some of the performance aspects. I mean, I was asking him, what, how his childhood might be affected how he performs on the air, if at all.
You said, how does your childhood have anything to do with how you perform any day? Could you imagine a single person answering that question?
I guess not.
I can't imagine that anybody would go into any job and think, well, this isn't much different than when I was 5 years old and I found out my father was murdered. That is so fucking hackneyed and awful. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I think that was one.
You were taking him to questions no human being would have the answer for without years of therapy. And that was your initial question.
I think that was one that I had to ask. Please ask that again. I have no idea what you mean.
And then the other thing is, I think you came in with a couple assumptions rather than trying to find it out. You were prejudiced by what you knew about him. So you're like, I'm going to try to figure out while he's unhappy at home. But he never told you that.
No.
You've got your own prejudice of things that you knew before you came in.
Yeah.
So during the interview, you did not find out why he's happy at home. Now, let's suppose there's people listening to the show. They don't know as much about Fez Whatley as you, right?
Right.
So you need Fez to fill them in on who Fez Whatley is and what he's up to before you get to you're not happy at home.
Yeah. Well, some of my early questions, that was the problem with letting or not doing
Your problem is some college took your mom's money. That's the problem, and that's the lawsuit you should be taking.
Well,
that they owe your mother this money back.
I graduated from the Great Monmouth University.
How many years in?
No problems. I graduated when I was 27 or
so 9 years.
Well, I wasn't.
You got a 9-year degree.
It wasn't concurrent, or I wasn't 7 years concurrent. Like I took a couple years off here and there.
To what? Travel Africa?
No,
Sabbatical.
Working at an Irish bar.
I say
Drink.
Yeah.
To become a student of people.
So you wanted to take 1 year off to black out. Right. Just get a nice blackout year going.
Lasted about 2 or 3 years working at an Irish pub.
God, is your life a waste?
What? I'm going to brush up on my interviewing skills. And I mean, this was my first celebrity interview, so I've never...
It's going to be your last. The Advocate will not ask you back. You might have a chance with Penny Saver.
No.
What do you do to save pennies? That'll be the questions you're fucking asking.
Well, listen, I had far less problems when I very informally interviewed Oliver Stone at
no, you didn't interview
my
him.
brother's college.
You bothered him. That's a big difference. It's a big difference bothering somebody and then interviewing him. It's two different things.
Yeah.
Fez, would you be more comfortable as the interviewer or the interviewee?
Wow, that's a tough question. Probably, as awkward as this was, probably still the interviewee.
No, why would that be?
Because I think I would have a lot of trouble. I would have trouble with like follow-up questions. Mm-hmm. Like maybe like the whole making it conversational. I would have that problem as well. Of like going off on something.
Why don't you try Davey Mack now? We'll flip the script. Go ahead and interview Davey Mack.
All right, Dave McDonald is here with us.
How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for doing this interview.
It's my problem. It's no problem at all. My pleasure is what I meant to say.
All right, Dave McDonald, being called one of the breakout stars of XM202.
Yeah.
Now, is there things that you've done? You've had your head shaved.
Mm-hmm.
You stick things in your ass.
Yes.
Is there anything you won't do?
Fez, I don't want to do anything to the tip of my cock. That's nothing that I think a guy needs to do.
So there are limits for you.
Yeah, anything that would do permanent damage to.
Now look how he's a better interviewee than you are. But you also did what I call the Charlie Logan. Let me tell you what you've done.
Oh yeah,
you've shaved your head. Charlie Logan always used to do this. We used to work with him at YNF, and he'd be like this. Bob Dylan in studio, and of course he never got Bob Dylan. It would be some bad fucking Eddie Trunk, glam rock band. But he'd be like this: Bob Dylan, you were born in Minnesota, moved across the country to the Village in New York City, where you started writing songs and performing at coffee houses there.
How are you supposed to answer
that? Yes is the every answer. No, the only answer you would have is yes. And he's trying to say, I've done my research, and I'm going to tell it to you.
Right.
And he would and I used to sit at home and crack the fuck up at just how long his statements would be. He did not ask questions. He gave statements. Earl, you used to interview a little bit too, right? On your weekend show?
Yeah, I did the public affairs show on WNEW in New York.
And what was that? What kind of people would you interview?
A lot of community leaders, like head of charity organizations.
Would you
like
prep
that.
your questions first?
Oh, yeah. I tried to prep as much as I can. But more often...
Even though you knew nobody was listening?
Yeah. I mean, but on that off chance that someone was listening, I wanted to do a good job with it. And I just wanted to make everyone who was listening at least comfortable with it. And
how did you think Dave did as an interviewer?
Dave, he came in. He was like a bull in a china shop. He just put him on the defensive from minute one, and there was no comfortability there.
Yeah. And when you did those things that you had too, you always had uncomfortable people, right? I mean,
yeah.
people that weren't used to doing interviews.
People that weren't used to doing interviews, and you're talking not more often than not about really like horrible things. You're talking about cancer and like cystic fibrosis. I mean,
You ever ask them what's their funniest cancer story?
I never got that uncomfortable. But you're extracting things out of them that you would think wouldn't feel comfortable talking.
Remember
about.
when you were in the Beatles? That was to me the funniest sketch ever when he used to fucking do that.
Oh, it's priceless. With Scorsese, he got Scorsese. He had the best guests too.
Yeah.
Scorsese, Paul McCartney.
What did he say to Scorsese? Remember when you?
Remember that scene in the movie Goodfellas where they beat that guy in the bar?
Kind of took a beating from Earl Douglas of all people.
Yeah, I know. Who the hell? The fuck, he thinks he's Ed Bradley from 60 Minutes, this guy. I mean, who the hell is he to give his 2 cents on my journalistic skills?
I thought it was hilarious that he was bragging that he would talk to all these like cancer patients and people with problems and try to bring attention to the issue, and never once said, I got more out of a cancer patient, Dave, than you got out of Fez. Like, it was the perfect opportunity to get shit on it. But as I was going through this,
first of all, have we heard Earl do an interview with anyone ever? Ever?
no.
I mean, so there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, done.
I had to think for a second, but no,
Done.
I don't think ever.
Done. Continue.
And then as I was going through the episode, I thought if you look at the questions you ask Fez,
Yes.
it's not a terrible interview. It would actually be perfect for, do you remember in Playboy where they would have quick blurbs? Like almost, if you would put this in Playboy about Fez, it would have been perfect, and it could almost work for anybody. So
Yeah, the Playboy interview, sure.
I thought if we said rapid fire,
Rapid
you
fire.
answer all the questions that you asked Fez,
Fine.
I think we could have a nice little Playboy interview to end up this article.
All right. Let's do this.
Eastside Dave McDonald. Is that your real name?
Yes, it is. Well, Dave McDonald is. Not the East Side, obviously.
That's where you.
But if Southside Johnny can use it, then why can't I use East Side? If he, Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes, big around these parts at the Jersey Shore. Okay. I felt like that was up for grabs. East Side, because I'm from the East Side of Spring Lake.
I mean,
Next.
shit, Bronx Johnny lives in Boston. How did your childhood affect your comedic style?
Well, I had red hair, and people would always, look at the fucking carrot top this, carrot top that. So I started to make a few jokes about carrot tops and redheads, and people would chuckle. And next thing you know, you're everyone's friend when you can make jokes at your own expense. And then I would broaden my horizons and make fun of them once I got a little popularity. Boom.
So just to simplify,
Being a redhead forces you to start thinking comedically as a child. Otherwise, you're fucking dead.
You look like a clown you're forced to grow into.
And my last name was McDonald, so I got Ronald McDonald, and then went on the Little League All-Star team that I was on. Some kid called me Kid Ron. He's like, it's crazy, man. You got red hair and your last name is McDonald. I'm going to call you Kid Ron. I go, no, you're not. No, you're not, Chris. He knows who he is, too. And I go, no, you are not, Chris. Okay? Because I'm hitting cleanup on this team. Okay? I'm not just the starting first baseman. I'm hitting cleanup. I'm the best hitter on this team. I'm fucking good. I don't want Kid Ron. I want to be distracted with Kid Ron. You call me Dave. All right? And he's like, whatever, Kid Ron. The second he did that, I punched him right in the stomach. He cried like a pussy.
You showed him.
I did, because he told the fucking coach, and the coach was like, Davey Mack's hitting cleanup. Why you called him Kid Ron?
Why you call him Kid Ron?
The coach took my side. I was like, it's fucking great. That kid left the All-Star team, by the way.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
You gave him the old.
And he sucked. Chris, you sucked anyway. So. All right, let's go. This interview's going great.
Who were your comedic influences growing up?
I mentioned Richard Lewis, the Muppets, Robin Williams, Steve Martin,
Okay,
and possibly Michael J. Fox, on Family Ties. We're not talking Back to the Future or Teen Wolf. Next one. Let's go. I'm loving fucking getting interviewed. Let's go.
How do you think your comedy tastes have evolved since then?
They haven't.
They really haven't.
I'm just as stupid as I was as a child. Next one.
What was your first job?
Butcher Block. When I was 14 years old. 2 years under the legal age limit. This is how much of a fucking worker I am. I spent the entire summer fucking taking meat out and garbage from the butcher block to the dump and this and that. I was a fucking butcher block in Spring Lake, New Jersey employee at the age of 14. And then 15 is when I started my illustrious busboy, waiter, barback, food industry career, of which I would then stay in for 7 or 8 years.
So you could say you've been doing this since you were 15.
I've been working since I was 14, bro.
Okay.
14. Butcher block.
How would you say working on the car lot motivated you to transition to radio?
Working on the car. Well, that's a
I guess it
question
would be the butcher block.
specifically for Fez. So the butcher block didn't help in any way, shape, or form. But being a waiter for 7 years, you are forced to talk to people. You lose any kind of shyness that you may have had. You can, when you're a waiter for an extended period of time, you realize I can have any conversation with any human being on the face of the planet because you meet so many people and talk to them throughout the course of the day. So actually, being a waiter, it actually, I think, can help you if you get into any kind of, public speaking, radio, comedian type of shit.
What hours of the day are you the happiest?
What hours of the day am I the happiest? I will say, Robert, I'm going to go around 7 to 8 p.m. Now, well, I just like it, Robert. I like when the sun is either going down or has just freshly gone down. Okay, I like my lights. I like my Christmas lights, and this is outside of Christmas season, and I like my lights and my special effects that I put on here. Okay. Also, good TV is coming on. The Yankees are on, or the Knicks are about to be on. So we got all of our shit going around between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. That's the time. Thank you very much. Rapid fire.
Why do you find it hard to open up in interviews?
I don't find it hard to open up in interviews. I'll tell you everything you want to know. You want me to talk about my goddamn asshole? It sounds like you want me to talk about my goddamn asshole and how many fucking peanut M&Ms I can stick up it. And the answer to that is 22.
What's something you like about yourself?
Ooh, shit. I don't know. I like being creative. I like, a fun idea going, oh, that would be fun to do on the DMSP or Tales from the Satellite, or the Eastside Davidson Wrestling Show, or the Adult Channel, a Star Wars podcast. I guess that's the one thing I like. Next.
What's the last album you listened to?
Last album I listened to. That's a fucking good question. Last album I listened to was Stones, because I recently made a Rolling Stones playlist. So I would say it was Let It Bleed. Okay. Was the last album from start to finish.
Does that hold significance to you?
I love the fucking album. I mean, I go back and forth. Everyone says Exile on Main Street for the Rolling Stones. Not for the Dave Man. I go back and forth between Let It Bleed and Sticky Fingers. Okay? They're the best two Stones albums. All right? The bottom line was sometimes I want to be hearing a little Monkey Man. Okay?
Okay. Nothing wrong
That's... Excuse me?
Nothing wrong with that.
You fucking son of a bitch. So that's why I went with Let It Bleed. All right? But Sticky Fingers has a ton of great shit. Just a ton.
What still excites you about radio? Last question.
What still excites me about radio is the intimacy and immediacy of radio. Talking with people either on the air or phone callers, not having things scripted, not having things so produced, and also the fact that it's all happening live.
Right now.
Right fucking now.
I do like that.
You can't get enough of that. It's why, people want to say, well, AM radio, FM radio, they're declining. First of all, they'll never die. But also, you just need like some forward-thinking, innovative program director types to fucking take. Here's the thing. Ready? Ready, radio stations? Here's one reason why you die. Ready? You play the same fucking songs all the time. Like, I would constantly bring this up to Carl on 95.9 The Rat, and he would then say, well, research says people want to hear hits. Okay, well, does research say why radio is consistently laying off people in mass? And why radio is consistently not getting the ratings that it used to? Maybe it's because radio is still acting like radio. Like, I've never understood the fucking, not just hesitancy, the straight up reluctancy to do something new. If I was a fucking radio station today, I would fucking program our thing like it's a fucking phone, like it's a playlist. We're going to have every rock song imaginable. Yeah, a fucking Gimme Shelter might pop up from the Stones, but so would a song like Sway or Moonlight Mile. Moonlight Mile is one of the greatest Rolling Stones songs of all time. Has anyone ever heard that on the radio? The answer is no. Why? Makes no sense.
I know the local station near where I grew up, the biggest numbers they would ever do were the pay for play, where people could pay to have their requests that they didn't normally pay.
There you go.
It's just like, that's how you get people involved.
Do something new and also talk like human beings. Don't do the day. Hey, everybody, 95.9 The Rat GT in the D's with one bourbon, one scotch, and one beer. It's like, God damn it, dude.
Well, you just
sound like you're fucking barfing.
You did just illustrate the point that Ron made Fez illustrate, which was you were a better interviewee than Fez was, because he does interview you. And right away, he does the thing that I get accused of doing on here all the time, where he just reads a bunch of facts at you. And he goes, so you're Eastside Dave. You're the rising star here on XM 108. You've shaved your head. You've shown us your asshole. Is there anything you won't do? And right away you go, yeah, I won't do anything to the tip of my cock. And like you lead into the whole thing, and it really proves the point right away.
And by the way, that was bullshit, because even though I didn't want to do anything with the tip of my cock, I involuntarily got hot sauce poured into the dick hole by comedian Jay Moore. And who we called the last time we were doing Tales from the Satellite, and he's changed his phone number.
Yeah, I don't think he's changed his number though, Dave, because he started a podcast since the last time we called him, and I think he's just yet another one ripping off Eastside Dave McDonald.
Is he's doing a podcast now?
Yeah.
What's his podcast about?
He sits down with the producer and they go through old episodes of the Jay Moore Show and discuss. I'm just teasing. They don't do it quite that level, but it's just a podcast.
It is a regular podcast talking about topics of the day, the shit going on.
Yeah. Nothing compares to this.
Don't we have a lot of that?
I mean, you alone have a lot of that. Tell the people where they can see your stuff.
No, I mean, don't we just have a lot of people doing podcasts and just talking about the same shit? It feels like anytime I see a clip, and I understand how popular they are, so don't get on my ass if you're a fan of these folks. But it's like you see certain clips, whether it's Rogan or Bill Maher or this or that, everyone just talks about the same fucking topics. I don't know.
What's even worse is when it's just like all the podcasts just talk about each other, and then it's just like
that's the bottom of the barrel worst type of podcasting
Russian
is
doll.
Drama casting, where it's just our show hates this comedian and that comedian hates that show, and then that show hates this podcast, and it's like, oh my God. I can't do that shit anymore.
You get the Russian dolls of commentators and it just gets slowly smaller.
I don't do the drama casting anymore. I've had people, how come you don't do blah, blah, blah? Because it's sinfully boring to me when it's not organic, or when it's the only thing a show does is to make fun of other shows. You've told me you don't want to do show prep. You don't want to put in effort. You don't want to think for yourself. All you're doing is basically taking someone else's show and then shitting on it. Okay, great. That's the laziest hackiest form of broadcasting going on right now. I won't be a part of that shit. And don't get me, if it's a natural feud that happens, that just pops up, fine. But even then, have you heard, when's the last time you've heard me, dedicate a whole episode of any of the shows that I do to some show?
At worst, it's one segment.
Yeah.
At worst.
At worst.
And it happens organically. And Dave, if people wanted to see a whole plethora of things self-driven by your own creativity, they would head over to
Eastside Dave TV on YouTube.com. That's right. That's where I want you to go. YouTube.com/EastsideDave. There, you're going to have the Davey Mac Sports program. You're going to have Tales from the Satellite. You're going to have the Eastside Dave and Son Wrestling Show. You're going to have Yaddle Chat on a Star Wars podcast. You're going to have musical performances. You're going to have sketches and bits. You're going to have different playlists, like Davey Mac's 3 a.m. playlist, where I only make videos fucked up beyond belief at 3 a.m. with a little bit of the IPA and a little bit of the smoky smoke, and then I'm watching a movie or shit, and then I decided to make a fucking thing, and then I play it for you. Or all of the times I've been in wrestling, the IWF segment. There's all kinds of playlists. There's all kinds of good shit. Just go over to it because it'll be there forever. That's what I realized. I'm not even interested in my own website anymore. I'm letting that fucking thing expire because it's like YouTube is going to be around forever. So, Eastside Dave TV on YouTube. There it is.
And on that note, thank you for tuning in, guys. We will see you soon on Davey Mac's Tales from the Satellite. Good night, radio fans.
See ya!